Hey guys, Akil Stokes here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. Today we're going to talk about information overload and one of the cloudiest areas that newer traders run into during their trading journey. Now, before we hop in, I want to remind you guys, this is a video version of the podcast, so welcome to my YouTube viewers. And for those of you who may be new here, this podcast comes out 3 times a week, and you can catch the audio-only versions on your favorite podcasting app. However, I do want to recommend using Spotify because they are the only app that I'm aware of that shows both the audio version and the video version, so you don't have to worry about bouncing back and forth depending on what the episode is. Now, before we get into the subject, if my energy is a little bit low, it's because I just spent the last 2.5 hours shoveling myself out of ice and snow, and I am extremely exhausted, and I haven't had my coffee, so I'm a little bit angry. But because I am so dedicated to you guys, I wanted to record this episode that way it actually comes out on time. So if you're interested in showing me some love for how much of a dedicated podcaster I am, you could do so by maybe hitting that like button or leaving me a rating and a review if you thought it was deserved. All right, so now that you've done that, I want to kick off today's episode by reading you the message that was sent to me from a fellow trader who I'm working with over at Tier 1 who is currently navigating this cloudy part of their trading journey. So let me go ahead and find this, and probably with editing, I'll edit this mumbly part out, or maybe not. All right, so here we go. Hey Akil, I've been here on the Tier 1 trading platform for about a month now, and I'm enjoying it very much. I'm emailing to seek some advice as I have hit a little bit of a speed bump. So far, I've watched and taken notes on both Foundation 1 and Foundation 2. These are the second and third course in our series where we're really talking about the basics of technical analysis. So we're not necessarily getting into the specific strategies, but we're teaching stuff like how to read a price chart, how to read candlesticks, support and resistance, the 3 ways to trade, breakouts, pullbacks, counter trend, some simple patterns like head and shoulders, loss of momentum patterns, triangles, wedges, stuff like that. Pretty much like the core elements of what you need to know as far as reading a price chart goes. So I've just taken notes on Foundation 1 and 2, and I'm reviewing my notes and rewatching the modules until it really sticks before moving forward to the Mastery course. To give a little context before explaining further, I am the type of person who must constantly remind myself to slow down because I have a tendency to reach for a goal and become frustrated during the process. You are not the only one, trust me. I've gotten better at this over the years, but the habits tend to show up and I have to reel myself back in. I've learned a lot in this past month from knowing absolutely nothing about technical analysis and reading price action. I've been doing action steps as often as I can, and over the last month, I was doing pretty good. Struggling with some things, but overall, I have been doing pretty good. Now, the speed bump. The past few days, when I go over to a chart, I feel like I have no idea what I'm looking at, and when I go over my notes, I feel like I have no idea what I'm reading. I will admit, when I go to the charts, I will do the action steps, but then I find a place where I would enter and set stops and targets and use the replay function to try to predict things, moving too fast, chasing the goal. I think this is what's fogging my brain and causing this speed bump. Real quick, when he talks about action steps, we give homework, but we call it action steps because no one likes homework at the end of each section to kind of just make sure, sometimes people... So let's go back to the pyramid of learning real quick. So you only learn a very small amount when you hear something, when you read something, when you watch a presentation. I think it's like maybe 20, 30%, something like that. Hopefully there's a graphic showing it for you. Where you really retain information is when you practically apply it or teach it to others. Teaching it to others retains, I think, like 90%. Practically applying is maybe like 80 or 70, something like that. So something that we want to do after the end of each course, and this is to stop people from just like running through the courses and having everything kind of overlap on the next thing, is we give them action items where we're saying, hey, now that you've learned about double tops, go into the market and find me 10 double tops and find me 10 double bottoms, in hopes that, one, it gets our trader in the habit of learning, then finding and learning and finding and practicing. And then 2, right away, it just ingrains the concept that they're seeing kind of in a controlled environment and allows them to recognize how they may look a little bit different in the actual trading environment, because there is a difference between what we teach, and although I try to give sloppy examples as much as I can, there's a difference between that and there's a difference between the live markets. The live markets are just, it's a highway of cars where the controlled environment is an empty parking lot with just you. Anyway, back to the email. Ultimately, what I would like to know is, should I take a step back from the charts and just start from the top with my notes and lectures? Or do you have some advice on how to methodically use the charts for action steps without falling into the trap of thinking about, how would I trade this? Or is this something normal that you have noticed with newbie traders? Thank you. Thank you. And I already responded to this trader personally through email, but I thought it was a really, really good subject for you guys, especially since we had a very similar situation in today's Q&A session where we had a trader that was kind of getting paralysis by analysis, just kind of doing too much. So I think this was the perfect kind of time to release this episode. So let's take things back, right? If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you remember that in episode 1268, we broke down the 4 stages of trading. There is the unconscious incompetence, where you are a trading baby, you don't know what you don't know, you're a blank slate. There is the conscious incompetence, where you are aware that you don't know. There's the conscious competence, where you know what you're supposed to know, and then there's the unconscious competence, where you're running on autopilot. If I had to categorize where this trader was at, I would put them in stage 2, which is going to be the conscious incompetence, right? Obviously, by being with us at tier 1, they are aware that there is stuff that they don't know, and they are on the journey of learning it. However, remember that just because you've started your journey of trying to know the things that you don't know doesn't mean that you've finished the journey, meaning that just because you've started stage 2, there's still going to be a lot of unknowns out there, and it's slowly going to be this kind of shift from, you start off with not knowing anything and maybe knowing or not knowing most things and maybe only knowing a little bit, to maybe not knowing half and knowing half, to eventually knowing it all, or as much as all is in the market. The point is, it is a process that you work through. You just don't start stage 2 and automatically know everything. There are going to be some gray areas. There are going to be some cloudy areas during that second stage as you replace the unknown with the known. And in this trader's case, I think this is why that confusion is coming up. And what we're seeing is the difference between understanding analysis, understanding concepts, which the trader is currently learning, but then actually knowing how to play, right? Sports example, right? There's a difference between being someone that knows how to play soccer, right? I get the ball and I try to kick it into goal, versus actually going on a soccer pitch with a real team and kind of knowing the ins and outs of like positional awareness and strategy and tactics and stuff like that. Yes, you have to know how to play before you can know how to play, but just because you know how to play doesn't mean you know how to play. Another good example is this, as I'm always giving the sports examples, right? If any of you guys have kids out there, this should be right up your alley, right? I got 2 young kids, and fatherhood has taught me that, hey, I have to teach my kids. I get a chance to mold them and hopefully create good human beings. And a lot of that is teaching them to follow the rules. So I'm always looking for opportunities to teach them to follow the rules. But if you know another thing about kids is they take everything literally, and in real life, real adult life, rules aren't always black and white. There are sometimes these gray areas. And here's a perfect example for you. So, right, about 3 times a week, including today, unless I get that call saying that we're snowed out, I've got to take my kids to soccer practice. And we go to this massive complex called Spooky Nook. In fact, I believe it is the largest indoor sports complex in North America. It's over 700,000 square feet large, and it consistently hosts, when we're there for practice, you're going to see volleyball teams and baseball teams and softball teams and football teams and field hockey teams and of course basketball teams and of course soccer teams there. So you can imagine this place is pretty packed. And every time we drive up, if practice happens to be at that busy time, right, it's going to be very hard to find parking. So you have 2 options, right? One, you drive to the very, very back where the only parking spaces are available. You pack up your survival kit and you journey for what seems to be 4 or 5 days until you make it to the main entrance and you get inside. And, although as an adult human being, that's not a bad idea. For my 2 little kids, there's lots of complaining and yelling. And when it's cold out, it's just really, really bad. So the other day, right, I was driving around and I'm circling, doing the 5-minute thing, looking for parking spaces, and I had an idea, right? So inside Spooky Nook, this amazingly big complex, there's actually a hotel. and there is a hotel parking lot directly to the right of our other parking lot. And unless there's a tournament or something big happening, which is usually on the weekend, no one's in that hotel. So I'm driving, I'm tired of driving around, we got to get to practice, and I make a right. And there's this big sign that says, no parking unless you are a hotel member, you will be towed, right? And they say that, but come on a Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, they're not towing anyone. So I make this right-hand turn in and I park and I turn around and make sure the kids have everything because they always left like a cleat or a shin guard or something like that. And I said, hey guys, ready to go? Let's get in there. And they're looking at me like this. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? And they're like, Dad, you're not a hotel guest. I said, no, like we live in a house. What are you talking about? You're not supposed to park here. And I'm like, because technically they're correct. The sign said no parking. Yeah, I shouldn't be parking there. But come on, like common sense is like, we're not driving 5 miles to the back. We're going to park here. The chances of us getting towed with all these other cars who are doing the same thing are very, very slim. This is where the trading probabilities come in. I'm like, okay, what are the chances? There's 15 cars here. What are the odds of my one car getting towed? I probably jinxed it, so it's going to be true tonight. But, it's one of those situations where in real life, I think all of us would see that as an opportunity to technically break or bend the rules. But the kids are super literal. So there is that developmental process in trading. That is the difference between kind of learning a concept, especially a discretionary concept in the market, where it's black and white, it looks perfect, it's this or that, versus the actual live trading environment where sometimes that thing is a little bit bent, a little bit wobbly. Now, just to be crystal clear, I'm not telling you guys to break your rules or even bend them. No, we want to follow them in trading. But the idea of that story was to tell you that things are different in a live environment, and until you're consistently put in that live environment and you're forced to make the decisions that come with being that live environment, you don't really understand it. So it's like it's learning and then it's practical application learning. This is actually a lesson I learned the hard way when I was trading. When I first started trading and I got mentored and coached, I hate to admit it, but I was like many of you guys, right? I was like the guy that we spoke about in the last podcast episode. I wanted to take something that my mentors were trading and I just wanted to copy it. And that thing happened to be the double top and double bottom. I learned about it. It was simple. I could identify them. So I went into the market, didn't test it, didn't do any demo trading, none of the stuff that we're supposed to do. I just went in with live money, smart, right? And traded it live. And I said, hey, I'm just going to find every double top and double bottom and trade it and I'll make lots of money. And that will be that, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. However, it was the exact opposite. I learned the hard and harsh and expensive lesson that there's a big difference between simply identifying a double top and a double bottom and identifying a double top and a double bottom that should actually be traded, right? The what is not as important as the where. And that's when I started kind of developing that saying. So although I was learning patterns, I wasn't learning how to trade. And that brings us to the solutions. There's really two solutions that I have for this trader and any trader that is in this situation. And the first is going to be the same advice that I give every trader that comes through with us at Tier 1 Trading is that, hey, take the course twice. And no, this isn't some type of like clever marketing scheme to, I don't even know what it would do to slow you down so you, I don't know, have a bad experience. No, it's because I think we need to focus on learning first and then trading second. So your first time through the course or the courses, especially the technical ones, right? Maybe the psychology one and the money management and the treating your trading like a business, the back testing, the strategy development, like stuff like that. Maybe you only take it once, right? Although why not take everything twice? But especially the technical stuff, take it twice. And the first time you take it, right? And again, this is when you're first entering that conscious and competent stage. You need to remove any thought of trading from your mind. I don't want you thinking about how to trade it. I don't want you thinking about what to trade it. Your goal is simple. I just want you focusing on this half of the deal and focus on learning the concepts. So as you go through, learn the concepts, find the concepts. Don't worry about how to trade the concepts. Just work on your ability to be like, hey, ascending triangle, I see you. Hey, double top, I see you. Hey, Gartley pattern, I see you. rising wedge, I see you. Higher high, higher close, I see you. Just familiarize yourself, with the basics. If we're talking soccer, like I mentioned earlier, this would be not worrying about playing a game, but learn how to trap a ball, learn how to pass a ball, learn how to shoot a ball correctly. Do all these foundational things first. Then, once you've done that, I want you to redo the entire course, or at least the technical sections, and I want you to focus on the other half of the equation, right? The first half of the equation was just learning. The second half was practical application. Once you have the learning down, what that allows you to do is it allows you to spend. So let's go back to the energy bar real quick, right? I believe in energy bar. If you watched the podcast or heard me speak before, right, where we have a certain amount of focus, a certain amount of battery life, however you want to picture it. And when we're doing something, if we invest 100% of our focus, our battery life on that thing, we're going to pick up on that thing. However, if we're spending a third of it on this thing, and then a third of it on another thing, and a third of it on that thing, right? We are going to learn some stuff, but a lot of stuff is going to slip through the cracks. So when you're trying to focus on learning how to identify and learning how to trade at the same time, you're giving each of those things 50% of your energy. Stuff is slipping through the cracks. Very, very, very important stuff, because trading is all about finding that very, very, very small edge that exists in those cracks and consistently pulling it out. So when you go through the first time and you learn, you've invested 100% of your energy and effort in learning. Boom. The second time you go through, you don't need to invest your energy and effort in learning anymore because you've already done it. And now that it's, I guess, muscle memory in a sense, you can invest 100% of your effort into how to practically apply it or how to actually trade it. And therefore, things aren't going to slip through the cracks. My second piece of advice is join us in the live trading rooms, right? You guys know we do 2 live trading rooms. We have a London live room. We have a New York live room where Jason Grayson and myself, we come in with a group of traders and we literally break down the markets on a daily basis on different time frames, different markets, everything from stocks to cryptos to currencies. And we practically apply the stuff that you're learning, the stuff that we're teaching in the courses, to the live market. So you have a chance to see, okay, I learned about this double top, but I don't really know how to trade this double top. Hey, Akil, can you guys find a double top example in the market? And boom, we'll find one for you, and it shows you how to take that next step in actually learning how to trade it. I wish I made this up myself, but a good friend of mine who actually used to be in the live rooms with me when I was learning how to trade, he always called the live rooms the gym. Because it came in, he would put in work, and it just improved him and made him better. And after a blank amount of time, he would come out bigger, stronger, faster, or in the trading sense, just a better and more accurate trader. So being able to see professionals just do what you're looking to do on a daily basis, this is just more reps, right? You're getting reps from your training, you're getting reps from finding it and practicing in the market, you're getting reps from seeing us walk through it as well. And again, we're going to be able to tell you some clues that maybe took us a long time to find out during our journey. You can know them right away and have it much earlier on in your journey, so you don't have to make as many mistakes as we did. Now, obviously, the live room only applies to those on the platform, and although this would be a perfect time to pitch you on joining the platform, especially the 14-day trial where you can come sign up and join us in the live room risk-free, I would say this. Jason and myself also do a lot of YouTube videos. So I have a whole section called, I think, like day trading or daily trading walkthroughs, where I'm sharing footage from the live room or sharing trading ideas that are on my radar for the day, or even my trading edge video that I do every weekend, where I'm sharing the top trading ideas that are on my radar for the week ahead. Those are technical breakdown videos, right? It's not just podcast stuff. There's a lot of technical breakdown videos. Talking thousands, right? So make it a habit, if you don't want to join the live room or you can't join the live room, and to watch these videos and watch those breakdowns and use that as part of your education. There's no excuses, guys. So in closing, because I am extremely tired and I am getting more and more frustrated that I haven't had my coffee. If you find yourself in this position as a trader, right, you're confused, you're overwhelmed, you're feeling like maybe you don't understand things, or maybe you do understand things, but you can't quite execute it, you can't put in that last piece of the puzzle, relax. That struggle is normal. Said trader is going through it. Yours truly has gone through it, so you're not some type of weirdo or anything like that. You're a normal trading weirdo. And it's just a normal part of working through that extremely challenging second phase of trading. I do think the third phase of trading is the hardest to get through because that's all in your brain. But the second phase does take the longest because you're pretty much erasing everything that you did know and kind of reprogramming yourself with new information. And that does take time, it does take energy, and it does take effort. But if you stick with the process, if you stay patient and you keep working hard, eventually you will get there. And remember, start with learning first and then learning how to trade second. That's it for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, leave any comments or questions below. And again, if you do want to join us, www.tier1trading.com, 14-day risk-free trial membership, courses, community, live resources. Check us out. It's all part of those 14 days on the platform, and there's no sneaky auto bill or anything like that. You're just booted out once it's done. So hope to see you over there. Hope to see you in the live rooms. And until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan.